Hey everybody, welcome into a fresh episode of Fast Break. Ashley Liotis and Megan Caffrey with you here as we are gearing up for week 3 of conference play. Teams are coming off what seemed to be a whirlwind to start conference play, most teams having played 4 games in 8 days.
Yeah, these are kind of the dog days of the season right now, coming off the holiday, coming off the new year, a lot of back-to-back road games. And that's hard for a lot of people, let alone full-time students also putting, schoolwork and things into the mix as well. I think this is really the time when you're going to find out exactly what these teams are made of. So, we're going to see what a lot of these teams are made of in these kind of dog days. First up, we're going to take a look at DePaul as they took down Creighton in that late road win. Megan, what did you see?
Well, the battle of the unbeatens perfectly put on a show. It was so incredibly exciting. If you were watching that game, you were there down to the wire. It was Creighton against then number 16 DePaul, and this game saw 9 ties and 5 lead changes. Coming into this, Creighton head coach Jim Flannery said, if you're going to play DePaul, you have to put up close to as many shots as you do and be careful with their turnovers. Well, get this. Before Sunday, DePaul had forced 20 or more turnovers in every game this season, and the Jays turned the ball over just 16 times. The Blue Demons, however, do remain unbeaten and take over sole possession of first place in the Big East. It was so incredibly exciting. Of course, you see Shantae Stonewall there, who was on fire yet again. However, though, Ashley, another super exciting game that we had for us that was a treat on Sunday was St. John's and Villanova. It was overtime in Queens.
Yes, it was a fun one. They definitely put on a show for early in conference play. This is, of course, a very impressive feat, knocking off the preseason 2 and 3 on the road. Just doing it in general is a big feat, but on the road is a whole different ballgame. Now, getting it done in overtime against St. John's. And listen to this, Mary Gadeka, Maddie Seegers. We've been talking about them all season long, especially here in conference play. In that game, they combined for 43 points. And against Seton Hall, Raven James coming in clutch with that 3 with just over a minute left to help seal the deal. A thriller there in that one. Now, another big headline we're talking about, Megan Duffy breaking into the Big East this year. She was able to get her first Big East win, her first conference win. Major congratulations to her. But what did you see out of that road series for them?
Well, the Marquette Golden Eagles, they had it tough. They started off with 3 straight road games, and they came away with a 1-2 record. But look at this. You start off conference play against DePaul. You're in Chicago. Then you get out to Omaha playing the Blue Jays, and then finally in Rhode Island, Marquette was able to pick up their first Big East win in the Megan Duffy era. And that is something that, when you look at these road swings, we talk about how often it's so hard to win on the road in Big East. And for Marquette to go on the road, they haven't been home since December 21st out in the non-conference. Their first 3 games in conference play were on the road. So to go 1-2 is certainly something that you can take away and have a lot of positives to go from there.
Yeah.
Now, we definitely had a lot of fun looking around the league to see what was going on within these first 4 games. And so what we put up were, we looked around all 10 teams. We came away with our biggest takeaways. We have 18 seconds to break each of these teams down. Ashley, you're on the clock to start us off.
All right, we are going to start here with Butler. They got their first conference win this week as they took on Xavier. A big feather in their cap right there. The first one is always one of the toughest. The Bulldogs led for nearly 33 minutes on Saturday, and Nida Caceres, the best day of her Butler career with 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 steals.
Now, Creighton has 4-time Big East Player of the Week, Jalen Agnew. However, we're going to look at defense for this J squad. They haven't allowed an opponent to score more than 75 points in a game this season. And yeah, that includes the Blue Demons, who are 3rd in the nation in scoring offense, averaging 86.9 points per game.
All right, taking a look at DePaul, the only team left to remain undefeated in conference play. We're going to be taking a look at some of their play a little bit later on, but as for now, they are outscoring every other team in the Big East. Check this, 193 steals in just 15 games. That's leading the conference by far.
Well, the Warriors have been struggling to find their identity this season after they graduated a pair of 1,000-point scorers, if you remember Dorothy Adamako and Deanna White. However, Memphis grad transfer Taylor Barnes has been the answer. She's averaging 13.1 points per game, the only Hoya to be averaging in double figures.
And over to Marquette, their first Big East win. We were just talking about them. We weren't sure kind of how those pieces were going to fit after losing so many seniors last year, Megan, but Playmakers like Lauren Van Clunen, Selena Scott, Jordan King, they are the ones getting the job done. They have a chance to make a big statement this week with St. John's and Seton Hall.
Heading out to Friartown. The Friars are still looking for their first Big East win of the year. Reigning Big East Freshman of the Year, Mary Baskerville, leads the way for the Friars. However, what sticks out about this team is they are tough underneath the glass, specifically their defensive rebounding. They're first in the conference in defensing boards, averaging 28.7.
And over to Seton Hall, a lot of conference play left, but right now the Hall's only conference loss comes to Villanova. And I really like that they had a nice fast start against Georgetown this past weekend, outscoring the Hoyas 23-8 in that first quarter. That is exactly what you need to win in conference play.
Well, the preseason number 2 St. John's Red Storm is meeting expectations. St. John's is second in the conference in scoring average, right behind DePaul, averaging 75.1 points per game. And a lot of that has to do with the backcourt duo Tiana England and Kadasha Hoppe. However, this offense is versatile. They are just 2 of 4 Johnnies averaging in double figures.
And Villanova, a very impressive start, 3-1 in conference play. Coming home 2-0 after that New York swing. And I have said it before, Megan, watch out because Gdeka and Seacrest are coming. In just 14 games, they have combined for 533 points. That is insane. Seacrest is first in the league.
Now, first-year head coach Melanie Moore and the Xavier Musketeers, they're still looking for their first Big East win of the season as well. Junior Ariana Gray has 19 career double-doubles, 3 this season, notching a career-high 28 points in the Musketeers' last game against Butler. She's second in the conference in scoring and a key cog for this Musketeers offense. Oh man, let's take our breath there.
3 minutes of full-blown highlights, good video, said a lot of good stuff right there. But speaking of catching your breath, or catching our breath, as we just did, the Donnies did just that as they took on Villanova this week. We talked a little bit about this earlier in that overtime thriller, and you got a chance to catch up with 2 of the stars. Let's hear exactly what they had to say about so far this season.
St. John's is one of 4 teams in the Big East, off to a 3-1 start in conference play. As I welcome into Fast Break, a pair of guards from the Johnnies, Tiana England and Kadasha Hoppe. Ladies, how is this 3-1 start to Big East play setting the tone to what you look to accomplish this season?
It's been good so far. We've come out and we've played 100% for these first 4 games. We fell short 2 days ago, but we're keeping the head on the same as our coach would say, and we're trying to have the best start as possible.
Yeah, it's definitely important for our Big East play to start like this. Our non-conference didn't go as well as we, would hope, but starting off in Big East, it's always important.
You did fall most recently to Villanova. However, Tiana, you hit the shot to force overtime. What are the positives that this team has taken away from that game?
The positives definitely, there were chances where we could have, welted down, but we stayed in there, kept our heads together. Unfortunately, we didn't come out with the win, but we definitely took, some lessons from that game.
Q, you scored a career high. You matched your career high, 24 points in your game against Butler. You've now scored 20 or more points in a game this season 5 times. You've already doubled that stat from last season. Offensively, where has your biggest growth been?
I would definitely say in my pull-up game, my pull-up jump shot. I've been working on it a lot, and it's kind of something some people would say a lost art in the game. So I've definitely been working on that, as well as my facilitating passing and just bringing an overall package to the game.
Tiana, you lead your team in assists. You're 3rd in the conference, averaging just under 5 per game. How do you see the floor so well?
That's really my teammates getting open, knocking down the shots. I'm just getting them the ball, so their consistency definitely helps me out with my assists.
How about your freshman, Leilani Correa? She's 2nd on the team in scoring. Q, she's right behind you, averaging just over 13 points a game. Your rookie season, you earned the Big East Freshman of the Year. So how have you taken her under your wing to make her feel comfortable and confident to have the success that she's having?
Just from the start, as soon as she got here, I made it clear that, you're not no regular freshman. Play as if you're just a regular college basketball player and see yourself as an equal, not that someone that, is a freshman. So when she goes out there with that confidence and she plays like she belongs here, she's really good.
Who's the funniest on the team this season?
For me, I would say Kadeja Bailey. I'll always say her.
I agree.
She's hilarious. She just brings some energy. I don't know if you guys noticed, she's smiling on the court, all of those things. So I would definitely say Kadeja Bailey.
I agree. If you watch her, when she's dribbling in transition, she's smiling the whole time. So now that we brought that to your attention, I'm sure you're gonna see it now.
How does that help you guys, in games if you fall back a little bit? How does her energy really help you fight and battle back in games?
It helps a lot. Everybody might not be on that night, and if you have someone that's consistently bringing that energy and bringing high spirits, it's always good to have that on the team so that we don't fall onto the negative side. It always turns out to be positive. So.
When you guys head on the road, you're facing Marquette and DePaul on the road this weekend. What are some of the road traditions that you guys do?
We have this tradition. We kind of do it. We do it at home as well, but we do it on the road where we have kind of like this game day thing where we make a circle and someone goes in a circle and we kind of do something to hype us up for that game. We do that the morning of the game, and we do that everywhere we go. So that's definitely going to continue on as we go to play Marquette and DePaul this weekend.
Yeah, that's definitely most important for this weekend. Two great teams. So we definitely have to bring the energy both games.
So Q, when you're hyping everyone up, and Tiana, when you're hyping everyone up, what are you guys doing in the middle of the circle?
This one's rapping.
It could
She's
be
always
rapping. It could be dancing. It could be, if you want to react to a scene from a movie, anything of the sort. As long as, at the end, it's going to get everybody hyped, go out there and do it.
Is it a freestyle rap that you're doing, Q?
Not a freestyle. I usually write it, but yeah, that's what I usually do.
Well, hopefully that's what you're going to be doing this weekend. I want to hear a little bit of it. Maybe we'll catch some of that on the Big East Digital Network. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you for having us.
For the Johnny's Sports Information Director, Victoria Lanza,
We
get
need
in that
you.
huddle and film that rap this weekend.
Yeah, I said that's a good story waiting to happen. Now, speaking of the Johnnies, they're going to face DePaul on national television this weekend, Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. That game on FS1, Battle of the Preseason 1 and 2. That's going to be a good one. A lot of eyes on that game.
Now, we've touched on some of the players that you're familiar with around the league if you follow Big East women's basketball. Villanova's Mary Gadeka, Maddie Segrist. You look at DePaul with Shantae Stonewall. However, this season, there have been some players who are just exceeding expectations. First, you head out to Creighton, and you're seeing Jalen Agnew. She has been the constant for this Blue Jay squad. However, Temi Sarda this season is just playing lights out. Before conference play, she was averaging just over 10 points a game. She's now averaging 17.3 points per game in conference play.
Yeah, and last year, she's kind of coming off of that. She averaged 10.1 points per game last year, and already she's averaging 12.1 points per game in the season, and in conference play, she's at 17.3 points per game, just working her way up, really carving out her spot as a starter. Now, heading over to DePaul, we got two women here we want to take a look at. First of all, Lexi Held. Now, she has started in every game. Last year, she had 20 steals all season, and she averaged 8.3 points per game. And get this, Megan, this year, in just 14 games, she has 16 steals, and averaging 14 points per game. Just leaps and bounds above last year so far.
And when you're thinking of Lexi Held, you're thinking a player who can hit those timely clutch buckets. You look into their Creighton game, she was able to hit a three to come and to break away from the tie. And then when you're turning to Sonia Morris, you mentioned offensive stats of hers, but also you look at her defense, and she was able to be a part of that turnover. That was the part of the game winner for Creighton.
Right, exactly. And she, last year, she kind of started a few games early on in the season, and then unfortunately, she kind of lost that starting spot, but she said, not this year, not going to happen. She is hanging on to that starting spot so far, rightfully so, averaging 16.1 points per game. And Megan, that's up from a 4.9 average last year, which is insane.
Oh, insane. And now let's turn to Seton Hall with the Pirates' Desiree Elmore. She had 21 points in the Pirates game against Georgetown. And when you look at Des, from last season to this season, she physically looks like a different player on the court.
Right.
She dropped a bunch of weight. She's now coming into this season a bigger part of this Pirates offense.
Yeah, and I'm going to take it back even one step further. She actually missed that 2017-18 season with an injury while she was over at Syracuse. She made her way over to Seton Hall, and now she is lights out. In the conference, she's top 10 in scoring, top 5 in rebounding. She's a season high of 16 rebounds back in November when they took on Lehigh.
When your name is called, can you step up to the challenge? That's what it's all about, right?
Exactly. We've seen that, and I think we're going to continue to see that as these dog days go on. The conference play, I think, really brings out the best in a lot of these players. So I think it's, all about peaking at the right time, and that's going to happen.
Now, Ashley, we mentioned the FS1 game that's on the deck for us on Sunday this weekend. However, that's just one of 3 games that is going to be on national TV. We've got Friday night Xavier at Georgetown on FSU. The action continues on to Saturday on CBS-SN at noon, where Providence and Creighton, will face off.
Yeah, and I think DePaul, all eyes are going to be on them. They kind of have that target on their back. It's not a bad thing. That's a very good thing because, like I said, they are the only team undefeated right now in conference play. They're at home this weekend against Seton Hall on Friday, St. John on Sunday. Some big-time matchups. We're going to see if they can stay undefeated in conference play. I think a lot of eyeballs are going to be on that team and on these games this weekend.
And how about this? We have to credit this to Pam Flanky. She gave us this great nugget before we went on. When you're looking at that Seton Hall DePaul game on Friday night, get this. The Blue Demons are 45-9 at home since conference realignment. Since conference realignment, only 2 teams have beaten them more than once, and only 1 team has done that 3 times. Who?
Who is it?
The Seton Hall Pirates.
There you go.
And
big time matchup.
And you can catch all of the other games that we've got going on this weekend on the Big East Digital Network. If you're not tuning into those national TV games, you can head on over and watch them on the Big East Digital Network. And you can head over to bigeast.com for a full schedule of events of what you got to look forward to.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. On their social media, we're keeping up with all of it. Like you said, on the network, on Big East Digital Network, on Twitter, on everything. We are all over the place.
And games kick off on Friday at 11:30 in the morning with Villanova and
Grab your
Butler.
coffee.
Grab your coffee. That's the best thing when we've got these early morning games.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. For Ashley Liotis and Megan Caffrey, see you next week.